I was done with being fat, but now I'm through with it. After 177 days, I have finally reached my goal weight of 145 pounds. Honestly, I had no idea it was going to take this long, but I'm really happy that I finally did it. But now, this means we're at a crossroads. What do I do? Do I continue updating on my diet and exercise and what food I was eating? Or do I simply just go back to doing casual vlogs like I did before this whole diet journey that I went on for 177 days? Honestly, now that I'm thinking of it, I think that I needed to do this journey to prove to myself that is, as long as I set my mind to a goal, I can achieve it. And knowing that I've achieved this goal in particular just proves to me that if I want to be a great storyteller, I can. If I want to be a great editor, video editor specifically, I also can. And if I want to be a great animator, which has been my lifelong dream, I can do that as well. But there was something else that I realized after this really long journey. And that's that the number one thing that kept me from getting off of the diet was the accountability of constantly updating the channel with my videos. Even if not many people were watching them, maybe, at best 5, the fact that I even had, a way to log my progress and just made me conscious that if I were to ever get out of line and not stick to my diet plan, I would be stuck at the weight I was at, which was on 188 pounds, which was the highest I've ever weighed in my whole life. And it's considered obese. So, with all this long preamble aside, what's the number one takeaway other than the fact that as long as I set my mind on something, I can do it? The other number one fact that I've learned today, and this is something that I've actually kind of learned from a YouTube video that I watched earlier today, is that if you create this is a weird way of putting it, but like a godlike form of accountability, you're more likely to do the thing. Let me give you an example. Say you say, I want to do 10 push-ups today, but you're the only one telling yourself that, and no one's around to make sure you're doing those 10 push-ups every day. Then you have another side of you that says, that's kind of a lot of work. Why don't you just sit on your butt and watch TV all day instead? It's more immediate, it's more entertaining, and you don't have to move much. The push-ups are great because they keep you in shape, but the entertainment is easy, but over the long term, it's self-destructive if there's an overconsumption of it. So, and sadly, a lot of the time, people, when they're left to their own devices and they don't really have any oversight telling them, hey, don't do that, or hey, please do that, they're more likely to not do the thing they're supposed to do. And in the YouTube video, the guy brought up this experiment that I remember watching a long time ago. That was done with a group of children. The scientists decided to have these children go into a room by themselves, and they say, "Hey, here's a marshmallow. If you can wait if you can wait 10 minutes, then you get a second marshmallow. And if you can't wait the 10 minutes and you eat the marshmallow, then you don't get the second marshmallow." And then something interesting happened. There were kids who ended up waiting the 10 minutes to eventually get the second marshmallow. And then there was another group of kids who ended up eating the marshmallow 2, 3 minutes in, 4 minutes in. And the reason I bring this up is the most fascinating thing about the study was that 40 years later after this study, and this was reported in the video I was watching, and this was something I found out a long time ago, but it's really relevant to what I'm talking about. The children who withheld from eating the marshmallow and ended up getting the second marshmallow ended up being high achievers. They would go to great colleges. They would end up being entrepreneurs and bosses, and they would end up running companies and basically being the most important figureheads in society. Or I guess not most important. That's not a good way of putting it, but the leadership role in society. We'll just put it that way, because every single part of the machine has its purpose, But the children who ended up eating the marshmallow instead of waiting the 10 minutes, they ended up just sticking with either dead-end jobs, or they ended up falling into poverty as they got older. And that was a really important lesson to learn from that video, is that if you can practice delayed gratification, but also if you have the feeling of oversight of perhaps the scientist, the God scientist, looking down, saying if you're going to eat that marshmallow in the 10 minutes or wait until you get the second marshmallow after the 10 minutes, then you are more likely to do the 10-minute wait, which is painful, but you end up getting a bigger reward later down the line. And that's that. And all this to say, when I heard that, I knew I needed to take this information to heart, because if you don't know me, I make a lot of lists, like a lot of lists. I try time blocking. I try telling myself hydrate, exercise, eat breakfast with protein. I tell myself to try and do things at a really specific time. And it's basic things that anyone who has ever been a human being before would, do, with list or not, like take a shower or brush teeth. I mean, I hope you wouldn't need a list for that, but basically, I found that these lists just feel like I'm trying to write a story that I just know the outcome of, and it's boring, and it doesn't really say much about me other than that I'm a follower rather than a doer, if that makes sense. But then I find this video, and it gives me an actionable plan that I actually really thought was really profound. In the video, the guy, I think the name of the YouTube channel is called Spoon-Fed Philosophy, or Spoon-Fed Information. I don't know. It's Spoon-Fed something. Sorry. But in the video, the guy creates what's called a war log. And he has two different camps. He has the marshmallow avoided and the marshmallow eaten. Marshmallow avoided, you write down what you avoided so that way you could end up doing the hard thing. Marshmallow eaten is what you ended up doing if you had not done it, you would have been further ahead had you avoided the marshmallow. And if you keep a log of like marshmallows eaten and avoided as you are like going about your day, or maybe when you sit down at the end of the day and think about like what you did, or maybe better yet, in real time when you feel an urge to like reach for the remote and binge watch random recommendations on YouTube, like I like to do all the time, you can stop yourself before you reach for the remote, grab your notebook, say marshmallow avoided YouTube recommendation binge, and worked on my Brain Jam editing work. And you could even make it more interesting the way you describe it, like the battle of attention, or attention divided and conquered by procrastination, or attention focused and charged against distractions. Try to make it something that feels like a personal victory to you, and try to be dynamic about it where you're like updating it consistently. And it starts to make you do a double take. I'm kind of starting to feel this too, where when I want to like go and, so that looks like such an interesting YouTube recommendation. I've always wanted to see a cat without two arms walk around. I'm like, wait a minute, but I haven't done my drawing practice yet. Should I look at that video of the cat with no arms walking around? It's 20 minutes, or no, it was actually 5 minutes. Or should I instead put my energy towards that 5 minutes towards learning how to draw hands and faces and things like that? It's going to be tough because I actually have to put effort into it, but I'm going to go with the hands and faces because I know that I'm building a skill set that's going to pay off big time later, because it's going to give me my own agency when I want to make my own art instead of relying on AI to do it. Because, the whole point of art is human expression, not amalgamation soup. So, yeah. But, yeah. And then after you finished your day, you log in what marshmallows were avoided and what marshmallows were eaten. You come up with your life score. And your final life score, if it's in the plus, it means it was a win, especially if it was a high plus. But if it was in the negative, loss, and that means that you're one step closer to achieving the godlike scientist approach, where you are aware there's like the god scientist looking and studying you, and you're trying your best to do what you can to maximize benefits, versus avoiding all responsibility, doing the bare minimum, and then ending up suffering for it later in life, which would not be good. So yeah, that's my long-winded way of basically saying that's what I learned. Oh yeah, and another word of advice: always keep it open, never close it. Because when you close it, that's closing the door on your future and your potential. Or your future potential, I guess. Or no, I know. So yeah. Well, all right. Now that we've covered that, I guess I could tell you how much I weigh. I'm 144.4. So I'm like 0.6 pounds down from my target weight. What's the plan moving forward? Well, I think I'm going to now switch back to just having a more generalized diet, but watching my portions and only eating like the naughty stuff every once in a while. Like, the reason why I got so big in the first place was because I didn't really move too much outside of working, and I just constantly ate over and over again foods that were high in saturated fat and and lots of processed carbs. So and it just made me balloon. So I'm still going to weigh myself every day, or at the very least every week, but I'd prefer every day because it helps keep me, mentally in tune with where I'm at. Because if you avoid looking at progress, and then I'll look at tomorrow, then tomorrow becomes a week from now, then a week becomes a month, and then a month becomes a year, and then before you know it, you're 188 again, and that's not good. So yeah, I'm going to switch generalized, which means I'm going to reintroduce carbs, but I'm going to make sure they're healthy carbs. Carbs like carrots, sweet potatoes, legumes, quinoa, things like that, where they've got a lot of benefits, but they're not going to break the bank. Yeah, in terms of carbs that are bad for you, because there are carbs that are really good for you, but they're not exactly the ones that are engineered to be addictive. Yeah. Well, anywho, I guess I could talk about my day. It was a cheat day. This isn't going to be the last cheat day per se. It is going to be the last cheat day for the keto diet, I would say. But there are still some keto ingredients that we never or haven't finished yet, such as peanut butter and jelly, or just my normal jelly and the keto seed bread. So I don't know. It would be kind of a waste to not eat that, but at the same time, it'd be also like you wouldn't be getting the full benefits by still eating a lot of carbs on top of the keto seed. It'd be like, what's the point? I guess you're at least getting your fiber in, but that's about it. I don't know. It's kind of weird. I will say though that I really felt an energy crash today because I made cookies last night, cookie dough, and I baked some cookies in the morning. And I ate like, I was naughty. I had like 6. I think I'm starting to see why I got fat in the first place. But I had 6, and I felt like a serious energy crash in like the middle of the day, like around 3:30 to 4. Like I felt like exhausted, wiped out, like my energy levels were shot down. It was not good at all. And I think it's made me realize like how I think I value consistent and maintained energy over extended periods, over energy that has a short spike and then an immediate drop off, that's lower than where you started when you got the spike. So yeah, this is a really spaghetti noodle video, isn't it? And by that I mean like it's just kind of all over the place and like, but anywho, I guess any interesting things happened today, because I mean it's a cheat day. Me and my mom got breakfast. We got pancakes. My mom got pancakes only. I got pancakes with bacon, egg, hash browns. And there was one of those roadside places that served breakfast and a bunch of other stuff. And then we arrived home and we watched a Y-Files, Campfire Stories. This was a really interesting video. The most interesting thing about it, like there were 3 stories in this video, One was about three men who had a time slip to like the medieval times during the plague. The second one was a man who apparently seemed to be possessed and made it like rain in his jail cell. And then the third was this weird internet mystery where there was like a YouTube video uploading like a new video every 3 minutes, and there was like sleuths out there, internet sleuths, trying to figure out what's going on with this video. They were able to piece together like coordinates that were in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, and if you go on Google Maps in the specific location that the like was decoded from analytics from the videos, there's an artificial metal object that's really huge underneath the water. So it really makes you wonder what was going on there and what exactly was the point of that. Like, YouTube eventually stopped it because they label it as like spam, and it was also too much for their servers to handle with those uploads. But yeah, it was really interesting. Really interesting. My mom needed to leave for work. I decided to spend my time watching a Digital Foundry video about DLSS 4.5 to see the improvements. I got bored with that. I decided to go to Area 52 channel to see him talk about this book where a guy supposedly had an encounter with extraterrestrial beings. In my opinion, okay, a book. Really skeptical right off the bat, trying to make money off of this. If you're trying to make money off of something that happened to you that was really profound, supposedly, I don't know. It just feels like, I mean, I guess you have the right to make money off of something that really happened to you or not. Like, people do it with like kidnap stories all the time. But I don't know, the fact that it has aliens in it makes it even more like eyebrow raising. Like, are you serious? Based on a true story? Are you sure about that, you know? Or are you just using fantastical backdrops saying it's true so you get people to be all jaw smacked and like buy a bunch of copies? Like, honestly, for stories like that, like the legitimacy, my belief, it's not really there for those kinds of. I mean, to be fair, it could really have happened, but the fact you're trying to capitalize off your experiences instead of just trying to get it out to the people as quickly as possible is highly suspect, you know. The UFO cases that I find more believable are the ones where no one's trying to gain anything. They're not trying to be a big shot. They're not trying to sell you something. They're simply just reporting what honestly happened to them, and then they let you decide for yourself. Those are the videos that give me a higher conviction rate than whatever's going on with with stuff like that. But yeah, as I was listening to that video, I paused it. I made cookies. I ate the cookies. I finished the video. Then I wanted to play my PlayStation VR 2 because I have not touched that thing in a bit. And I mean, I spent like $600 on that thing. Pretty bad investment, honestly, because Sony doesn't seem like they are trying at all to support the device anymore. But yeah, but hey, I'm like, well, if I already own this, I might as well, you know, use it and find a game that I enjoy. And I chose No Man's Sky because they have a VR mode for that game. And to be honest, when you really get into No Man's Sky and you just kind of like are locked into the whole explorative, you know, quest-based adventure sci-fi world that it has to offer for you. It's a really engaging and fun experience that I just really enjoyed, and I really did like. Like, it even gave me my own story to tell. For example, I was in need of a artifact that was in a remote location, but the thing was the artifact was being protected by sentinels. And when I grabbed it, sentinels were instantly activated, and it didn't matter how far away I tried running from them, they would just keep on following me. I tried getting in my spaceship, but no matter what I did to try to start it, it wouldn't start, and the sentinels were on my tail. They even had a timer saying, oh, they're here in 20 seconds, 10 seconds. And so I was like, oh no, I don't want them to shoot lasers at my ship and then destroy it. I'm going to get out of here and start running. So I got out, I ran, I tried to make sure they weren't following me, and they kept on following me, and I had to make a huge U-turn around a big mountain before eventually I returned back to my ship. And I was given a full minute before they eventually would arrive. I was like, oh, what do I do? And then I decided to go into my inventory. I realized that the ship had no fuel. I refueled it. I immediately started the ship, and then I launched in the air up into the sky. But the Sentinels sent their guard ships, which were flying after me in the sky, and it was aerial combat where I had to shoot them down, and they were shooting me. I was able to take down 2 of 4, but the other 2 just kept on following me and pounding me away. And eventually I was like, okay, I can't do this anymore. My shield's down and the ship's about to crash. So I flew away and I just kept on going in hyper speed, like as far as I could, till eventually they weren't following me anymore. And then I went back to a recovery base where 2 alien dudes were hanging out, and I decided to give them some resources that I mined for. In return, they told me about their language so I could understand them better. And yeah, that was No Man's Sky for PSVR 2, and it was a really cool experience. And it's such a vibe, like the music, the art direction, just the feeling of being in like the cockpit of the ship and just looking around and seeing, like, you know, what's happening around you. It's just a really engaging, really fun, really cool experience. I really dig it. Then I greeted my sister. Then we suggested, oh yeah, our middle sister is going to be arriving later to watch One Piece with us. What can we do? Oh, I know. How about we ask her if we could make some One Piece inspired meals from her cookbook, One Piece cookbook, and she could take pictures of them, send them to us, and then we could get started on them. We both thought that was a really fun and interesting idea, so we contacted her. We asked her. She put on FaceTime. She showed us the recipes, and we all were gathering around looking at each one, trying to decide which one looked the best to us. We ultimately decided on curry, skewers, and potato balls, but they were, I think they were called croquettes. So yeah, those were ready to be made. So we started out on marinating the meat. I crushed garlic. I smashed lemon. I put in some salt and pepper. My sister cut up some onion, put it in there, and she cut up some other vegetables and the meats into squares. We poured the mixture in with the meat. We sealed it in a glass container with the top, put it in the fridge to marinate. Well, that was marinating. There was a request in the book for the croquettes to have the potatoes steamed first so they'd be easy to mash. So I was like, okay, I can do that. But you know, the steaming them would take not a long time, and we had a good 3-4 hours before my sister showed up. So we decided to wait until we did that. So my sister went out in the garden, did her thing, and I decided to go in my room. I decided to Man, I just watched. I went on my YouTube tirade again. I've got a problem, and that's why I'm trying to fix it. I watched this Dan Dingle make drawings and then put them through Sora 2 to see what Sora 2 would end up coming up with animating them. He did that with his friend where they were doing some silly competitions together, and it was just really dumb and ultimately a silly waste of time. But I mean, I kind of thought it was entertaining, which is why I watched the whole thing. But yeah, I really need to start focusing on what I focus on if I want to get anywhere. You know what I mean? But yeah, after I was done watching that, um, I remember I decided to turn on the TV and in the CRT in my room to watch Red Letter Media. I wanted to watch their Star Trek Deep Space Nine review. They released part two, and I hadn't seen it yet, but I wanted to watch it while enjoying something tasty. So I decided to wait, and I was going to go to a burger joint to get some food so I could watch it while eating. And we wouldn't be eating our meal until like a good 5, 6 hours later, and I was starting to get hungry. Um, so yeah, I told my sister about it. I called um, our family friend. Or wait, no, I didn't call our family friend. I went back into my room and I decided to continue watching the dumb video on my computer when and then I remember my mom called and she told me that she was on her way to the dentist. There was some crazy stuff that was happening, like there was a hot pursuit where like a guy was like almost bumped into her but ended up bumping into another car that was on the other lane, and it bumped so hard into that other car that the airbag visually went off, stopped them in their tracks. There was like a bunch of police officers everywhere. It sounded really scary, and but don't worry, she's okay. So that's awesome, and hopefully, I'm hoping that person who got bumped by that extremely, you know, um, that closed off individual that 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 person. I hope that person's okay too. Yeah, it's just a shame. People, instead of confronting their actions and doing something about them, they think they can run away from their problems. But little do you know, their problems are going to stare them straight in their face and remind them that they can't run away from them. So, yeah, it's a shame stuff like that has to happen. But yeah, well, uh, yeah, she told me about the whole thing. I tried looking it up on Google to see what's going on. It's either Google said it's either like an ICE thing where like there was like an illegal immigrant that was trying to get away from the cops, and there was like a bunch of blockades and cops setting things up to try to capture the individual, or it was like something more personal, like a domestic dispute that had gone awry. Not exactly sure though. Can't say for certain. But after all of that, my mom said she would be going to the dentist, and when she went, um, I she told me that I accidentally left my keys in her car when we went to the restaurant earlier today. So when she told me that, made me realize, oh, I can't go get the cheeseburger. So I decided to call our family friend to see if she'd be willing, since she was in her car at the time, and she was seeing a friend of hers, and she said she agreed to bring me the food. So I thanked her very deeply. And after that, my sister and I decided youngest sister and I decided to continue working on the food. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention, my sister showed me this really interesting web cartoon about like these women who are like cartoon roach characters, um, and they basically it's about their drama and their problems in like school with relationships and things like that. It's supposed to be like a comedy and stuff. Uh, it's certainly there's kind of a real heart to it though, because like you could tell everyone involved in it really like it looks like it's mostly just made by one person who just got her whole family to voice all of the characters, and it's called the Roach Chronicles. And yeah, it's really you could tell even though the animation is extremely limited and basic, um, the fact that it you know you could feel that the person who had made it was really trying to communicate the story they were telling, um, was really palpable, and you could feel that passion. And honestly, for me, I much rather prefer passion over pe- people just clocking into their day job or doing something that has a lot of technique to it, sure, and is correct on technical fronts. But if there's no soul, if there's no like, I need to tell this story, it's in me and it has to get out, if there's none of that, and you're just creating noise instead of a point, in my opinion. And like, I feel like the whole point of art is to, you know, share a piece of the human experience, you know, and the more raw and unfiltered, the better, because the more it hits home and makes you look at your own life and think about your own decisions and stuff. So yeah, so even though it was a bit rudimentary in terms of the visuals, the fact that there was clearly like a lot of care in terms of like getting voices and just wanting to put something out there, no matter how rudimentary it looks, is extremely admirable and really cool and inspiring, I must say. Yeah, and my sister showed me that earlier in the day, and we were like talking about it, what we liked about it. Um, my sister said she liked how it showed different factions of the family, like the kids, the teenagers, the adults, and how their problems kind of intersect and connect to each other. She said it made it feel more real. Um, and apparently, the person who made the Roach Chronicles also makes live action stuff. But my sister said she tried watching some of their live action stuff and she found it more cringe because with animation, there's sort of a degree of separation. So you instead focus more on the characters and the story and the goofy drawings. But when you use live action, now you've got a real human being, and the only way you're able to get into that story heavily depends on how much the human being can let go of their ego and really get into character and really, sell what they're trying to tell. But if they don't know how to act and they're clearly like uncomfortable in front of the camera, it's not going to work and it's going to just feel cringy and forced. So, yeah. But yeah, after we're done with all that, and that all happened between when me and my sister called my middle sister about One Piece and after my VR game. So it was in that between block. We can now jump forward in time to us making the food. Then my mom arrived from her tooth extraction. She had a really numb tooth, or sorry, numb mouth, because they had to numb it after they pulled the tooth out. And my mom wanted uh, ice cream, um, or yogurt, because after you've had something like that happen, you can't really eat crunchy things because it might get into the wound and cause infection later down the line. So you really want liquidy meals instead. So I decided to go with my mom to the grocery store while my sister was making some preparations with the skewers, and she wanted Roma tomatoes and panko for the potato balls. So when we got there, we got the panko, we got the Roma tomatoes, we got the yogurt, we also got ice cream. I plan on making cookies and making homemade cookie sandwiches. So we eventually arrived back home, and when we got back, my middle sister, was there, hanging out with my youngest sister, and they were watching the Roach Chronicles. My sister was showing her what she showed me. And then when my mom walked in, it just happened to be a part where the character was on the toilet, talking with her sister, and you know, you could hear the fart sounds. And isn't that the case when like you're trying to show someone something you think is, endearing, but then someone, you walks in and like a part that makes it seem worse than it is. It's just it's just a funny scenario is what I'm saying. I greeted my middle sister, then me and my sister got cooking. I put together the projector. I actually put together a projector around the time before my mom arrived and my middle sister arrived, with the screen and everything, with my youngest sister helping me put it into place. And then, yeah, we were just cooking the skewers on the grill. I tried 15 minutes and turning it frequently every 3 to 4 minutes. I think I might have overcooked it. The meat was a little chewy, kind of a shame. And the oh yeah, my sister just did the curry completely on her own, and I made the potato balls by defrosting some beef we had in the freezer, and then cooking that, mixing it with some onions. I actually made the mistake of putting the beef and the onions in a container that had 1 cup of canola oil, and apparently, like beef, it already has enough fat. It doesn't need extra fat. So, yeah, when my sister told me that, I was like, oh, well, it wasn't really clear about that. I was like, yeah, well, it doesn't need all that fat. So I decided to. She said, try getting the oil out. So I got the oil out, transferred into another container, cooked the meat on the pan with the onions until it was fully cooked through. And when it was fully cooked through, I took the meat and I asked my sister to help. We actually steamed the potatoes ahead of time. She took the potatoes, she crushed them, she mixed them with some butter and some cream, and then she mixed the onions and the meat together with that. And when that was done, I gathered the panko, the flour, and the eggs. She rolled them up into 11 balls, potato balls. And then she covered them in flour, egg, panko. We got the oil in a smaller pan so the potato balls could be more evenly fried on both sides by flipping them halfway through. And yeah, that was that. Once we had the food going, it took me a little while to do the skewers. I decided to shave off 5 minutes for the next batch of skewers, which were 5 before eventually we were done. We had our curry, we had our potato balls, we had our skewers, we were outside, and we watched 3, or was it 2? I think it was 2 episodes of One Piece. And they were the episodes where the characters meet the female character with the orange hair and the white and blue striped shirt, who steals a boat from pirates, and then she comes across this town that has been tyrannically overtaken by a pirate that looks like a looks like a clown, and he has the ability of taking pieces off of him and moving them around in any location he wants. It looks really weird. and he's got this huge insecurity about his nose because his nose like looks like a clown nose, but that's how it is in real life. Um, and yeah, it basically it's about like Luffy like coming to this town. He's hungry. He wants to eat. He comes across the lady. He decides to make the lady his navigator. Um, she doesn't like pirates, but she thinks that Luffy's actually got a good heart because of him taking care of like this dog they find. Also, yeah, just you know having some morality. And I just really like how just casual and nonchalant he is. Oh, light went out. In any scenarios, and I think that's a lot of fun and really interesting approach to a character. So yeah. Is there another light I can use right now? Oh well. I know. I'll just use this one. Okay. Perfect. All right. Well, anywho, yeah, we finished watching that. During the midpoint before we started episode 2, I got cookies. I baked them really quick. I took them out. I made a cookie ice cream sandwich, and yeah, then we continued. I gave our family friend a cookie too. My sister didn't. My middle sister didn't finish. My mom couldn't eat because of her tooth, but everyone else seemed to finish and really enjoy the meal. So yeah, my middle sister, she seemed to enjoy it too. It's just she I think she's like trying to lose weight, so she's eating smaller portions, and she got a large portion. So yeah, after we're done watching that, we said goodbye to my sister. I put away the setup, and when I put away the setup, I used the restroom, and then when I finished, I decided to work on my my war log list. And after I was done with that, I did 20 minutes of Brain Jam where I drew a new frame for Go Goat Gadget, where he's looking at a novel and he's surprised about what he's seeing because it's a little dad joke. As I'm reading the comment, I say, "What makes art great is that it's novel." And then I have like the Go Goat Gadget looking at novel. It's really dumb, but it's humor that I like enjoy doing. And then I did a line work for Lady in a Pose from New Masters Academy. So yeah, that was done as well. And I was like, oh yeah, I need to make my update video before I turn in for tonight. So here it is. I actually went through the trouble of recreating a similar angle to the one that I used when I first started doing these diet updates, sort of as a way to make this come full circle. Now, the real tests or call to action now is, what am I going to do? What am I going to make my future videos about now that I've achieved my diet goal? Well, I'm still going to be on top of my weight, that's for sure. I'm going to avoid eating overly sugary things. I'm going to try to eat whole foods, real foods, more often than not. I will indulge every now and then, but not, too much. I think maybe a good focus going forward would be to talk about my progress on my developments, or maybe my war log about like what I chose to do versus what I chose not to do. I think that would be a good way to build up like that godlike scientist view of like, this is what I'm doing, this is going to be the outcome and this is going to be a better outcome, even though it's going to take more work, versus the outcome that seems good at the time but ultimately fails in the end. So yeah. Well, I think that's about everything I have to say right now. Thank you for watching, and stay true to your dreams and you will achieve them. Good night, everybody. Take care.